of the specific beliefs creating an undesired reflection, what is the most effective way to uncover and shift them?
Well, if you have what you are perceiving as an undesired reflection, of course, depending on whether you're negatively judging the reflection or whether it's something truly out of alignment with who you are, of course, is the first question you ask yourself. The idea, again, is self-investigation. If it is truly not your preference and feels uncompatible and undesired, again, you would have to ask, by understanding how things work, what are you getting out of having this reflection? What are you learning from this reflection? How can it help you move in a different direction? So you still have to know it's there for a reason, as we have said. There are no accidents. So if it's there for a reason. What is it trying to show you? What are you learning from it? What are you holding on to that you think you need that maybe you don't need? So again, it requires deep self-investigation to find out why you would hold on to something you don't prefer, because you will always do so because you believe it benefits you. You have to understand the motivational mechanism and how it works. But that will be the beginning of the dialogue, the internal dialogue, that will help you understand why you're getting the reflection that you're getting, or perhaps why you're judging the reflection negatively that you're getting instead of using it to your advantage, since there is always a reason why everything is there.
Okay. And if physical reality is an illusion reflecting our beliefs, what belief structures create life-threatening allergic reactions, and how can one deprogram that matrix without dying in the process?
Of course, again, there may be many different reasons, as there are different people, for having allergic reactions to things. One of the most general reflections is self-rejection, and therefore that being represented by the idea of the nature that surrounds you or you find yourself in. So it has to be something that perhaps for most people needs an investigation into what parts of yourself are you rejecting. Have you learned to reject? Have you learned to judge negatively so that you don't, quote unquote, belong, so that you don't fit in, and therefore are rejected allergically by nature? Now, it can be something different as well. But again, for most people, it has to do with issues of self-rejection.
Okay, thank you. How should this person handle a behavioral secret that they have kept from their family due to differing beliefs? They have no negative feelings about their choice and they don't intend to change them, but also know that sharing would cause their parents and their family heartbreak.
Pay attention to what we have already said and described about the idea of consequential secrets. The idea is not necessarily to reveal something, but to simply stop the behavior if it is something that, if revealed, would have detrimental effects on others, not because of their belief system according to your belief system, but because you know it would actually break a trust or confidence or have detrimental effects from something that you have established. So what we are saying is it's not about the revealing of certain secrets that are simply representative of your personal preference that are correct for you. You don't have to reveal anything that is your personal preference that's correct for how you wish to be as a person, if you know that it might be something that will upset others. Because then the idea is that this is simply in the domain of others to not necessarily choose to be upset by the choices you're making to be your true self, if that's what's happening. So we're not talking about the revealing of personal preferences that someone else might find upsetting. We're simply talking about the idea that if you're holding on to a secret that represents a behavior that you know, if revealed, would be the idea of dismantling the trust that exists between you because of what you have established with them, having to do with the circumstance and situation that you may be going against. It's about just stopping the behavior so that you don't have the secret anymore. So that if someone asks you, is this happening? Are you doing this? You can honestly say no.
And This person is saying that if everything is synchronistic and they attract the perfect lessons that they need to learn, does it make sense to, for example, wear a helmet on a motorcycle or have insurance? If they're positive, and then every experience, every disease, every injury is welcomed as a beautiful opportunity for growth. Do you still protect yourself? And is there even anything like protection, as I cannot protect myself from my own reflection anyway?
This is a person who is not getting the point that is existing even within their own question. Of course, you protect yourself. The idea of asking, do I need to protect myself by wearing a helmet if I ride a motorcycle, is the result of a lesson you have learned. So the idea is not to avoid those obvious things that can protect you. Stay grounded in this, stay balanced in this, and understand that the whole idea, perhaps in your society, of wearing a helmet or having insurance are the results of learning lessons to protect yourself. It's not about trying to avoid the obvious. It's not about trying to be so spiritual that I don't need to do these things. It's about understanding how things work in your reality and learning the lesson. Of course, wearing a helmet will protect you because that is the lesson you learn if you fall down and injure your head without a helmet. So the things that you're talking about avoiding are actually the lessons you need to learn in a typical physical reality.
That's really a great understanding.
Yes.
Um,
Don't be so spiritual that you forget that following the lessons of physical reality is just as spiritual as anything.
Now, this questioner is saying that her boyfriend completely refuses to believe anything that has to do with souls, UFOs, ETs. Did he and other people who think like him choose the experience of being closed-minded about these topics before incarnating on Earth? And if not, is there a way to help them wake up?
There may not be. Yes, it is a situational choice of the spirit to know that they are going into a reality where things like spirit, UFOs, ETs, the expansion of consciousness are going to become part and parcel of the expansion of humanity in this particular time frame, in this day and age. Therefore, going into the idea that they have fear about these things and refuse to acknowledge that they could be possibilities is part of their particular choices and lessons that they have chosen to learn. They may not learn it. It may be their life path to not open up to these things, but that's all right. Again, it may simply be an opportunity for them to realize that these things do exist. They're simply afraid of changing their entire worldview paradigm at this particular point because they have a belief system that says they cannot handle it or that everything would come crashing down. There's really no way to allow them to wake up to the fact that these things exist other than gentle conversation, gentle exploration, if they're willing to be exposed to it. But again, it's not necessarily your job to convince them of these things because you don't know their life path. Their life path may be to deny these things until a certain point where they will wake themselves up by putting themselves in a circumstance that is undeniable. But we'll see if that's what they have chosen. There's no way to assume that that's what they have chosen.
Now, this questioner is asking if you could clarify what you mean about a theme for this life. Do you mean what passion we choose to follow, what our main purpose is in coming here? Or do you mean what shadow aspects of our character are we going to deal with in this lifetime?
Both. It has to do, your theme, with both the passions that are representative of who you are and the letting go of the shadow side that represents who you are not. So this is why we say the greatest challenges that occur in your life are usually representative of your themes, both positive and negative. So it has to do both with being true to yourself and acting on your passion, and at the same time letting go of the things that are not who you really are, letting go of the fear-based beliefs. So it's both.
Okay. And this individual has these really interesting synchronicities. They frequently notice plumbing related signs, billboards for plumbing, trucks and vans advertising plumbing, and even times when they searched for restaurants on Yelp and they still only get plumbing services to appear. What is the synchronicity of plumbing trying to convey? Could my higher self, guides, or angels be sending me a message? And if so, what might that message be?
You might have some pipes that need to be unclogged. So it might be a way of saying you need to clear out your system, perhaps both energetically and even physically. It might have things to do with your diet. It might have things to do with your health. It might have things to do simply with belief systems that you need to let go of to clean out your pipes, so to speak.
Great. Um, could you help this person bring more understanding to the concept of money? For them, it feels very abstract. When they receive other forms of abundance, money seems more complicated for them to receive. And they experience a paradox where personally they don't need money, but at the same time they need it to pay off debts, live comfortably, and be financially independent.
All right, well, this is the opposite of what is typical for many people in the sense that most are focused on money at the expense of the other forms of abundance, whereas this person is expressing the opposite. They're okay with all the other forms of abundance, but they have issues around money. And therefore, they're not actually allowing money to be equal to the other forms in much the same way, but in the opposite sense that most people are understanding that they have a focus on money, but are not allowing the other forms of abundance to be equal to money. In this case, this person is not allowing money to be equal to the other forms of abundance. So they're going about it in the opposite way from most people. They have to allow money to be just as valid, just as equal, just as easily attracted when necessary as any other form of abundance that they find they are easily able to attract. So it's about getting into an understanding of why they may have a specific relationship with that particular form or expression of exchange or abundance on your planet that somehow makes it stand out more differently than any other form of abundance that we've talked about that they may find more ease with.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And this person is saying they're passionate about self expression, self exploration, personal development, and growth. And reading and discovering new knowledge like what you offer is something they truly love. And this journey has been their way of understanding why they've felt so unhappy for so long. Thinking about my path, I realize I'm passionate about sharing what I learn with others. I want to start coaching to help people discover themselves and break free from feeling stuck. But what holds them back is this feeling that despite all the coaching and permission slips they've encountered, they still feel stuck and haven't found lasting joy. How can they support the idea of coaching when it hasn't fully worked for themselves?
You will learn what you need by actually taking the action of coaching. You learn by doing, you learn by experience. You will grow, you will gain insights, but you have to start the actions. This is of paramount importance and why we say you have to act on your passion. It's the action, the physical action that will bring you more information, bring you understanding, bring you inspiration, bring you what you need to help others as well. So you have to start taking the action. If you don't have the actions, you're not going to gain more experience. You're not going to gain more knowledge. You're not going to gain more ability to help others if you don't help yourself by actually taking the actions to help others too. That's how you learn. You help them, you help yourself.
Is feeling stuck also a form of procrastination?
It can be. So again, it may be, oh, I'm not worthy yet. I'm not capable of sharing anything yet. It may be self-judgment. It may be many things. And therefore, you are not taking the actions. You are waiting. You are procrastinating, using it as an excuse because you don't think that what you have to give already is worthwhile. So yes, it can be a form of procrastination.
So the idea of taking action in some form in that direction can eventually help you break through whatever barriers to understanding your
Yes.
issue is.
This is why we sometimes say if you feel stuck, go and volunteer to help people in some way, shape, or form other than what you would typically do. It will get you out of your head. It will get you out of yourself in a good way. You will start to learn things and then perhaps can transfer those lessons by volunteering for something other than what you would typically do that will then be transferable to what it is you are truly passionate about. So, one way or another, the actions you take to help others in some situation, whether immediately representative of your passion or not, can unstick you by putting you in an unexpected situation where you're being of assistance and being of help to others. It can transfer to what you actually ultimately would prefer and are passionate about doing. Just take the action. That's the most important thing. So if you can't take the action in the direction of what you know you're passionate is about, go and volunteer for something unexpected, helping people, feeding people, clothing people, reading to people, building houses for people, whatever it takes, volunteer to help, and you will find yourself getting unstuck not only in the idea of the actions you take in your volunteer work, but also getting unstuck in the direction of your passion as well.
And does the idea of chaos, when it arises in physical reality, also provide an opportunity to be unstuck?
It can because it turns everything upside down, everything is unexpected. And when everything is unexpected, then all bets are off, as you say. That means anything could happen. And you can take advantage of that stream. You can take advantage of that momentum. Anything can happen, including the things that are representative of you acting on your passion. So, by all means, you can take advantage of things loosening up in a positive way. And that's again the importance of staying in a positive state so that no matter what happens and no matter how chaotic something may seem, you will get the advantage of using chaos to your benefit because now all bets are off and anything can happen to your advantage.
And in line with that, that idea of history repeating itself, and like you were saying about protection, things we've learned,
Yes.
how does that factor into the idea of things being chaotic and still allowing for the idea of learning from history?
History, as you say, repeating itself is simply another way of saying you're always given another chance to change things in a way that you would prefer to. If you haven't learned the lessons will always come back until you no longer need them. So when you decide to use the repetitions in your history, the cycles in your history to actually learn the lessons of how to do things differently, this is what we were talking about before about the pendulum swing to the extremes. Until you learn the lesson to stay balanced in the center, the same lessons will always come back. The same opportunities to learn the lessons will always come back. Earth is a planet of cycles, and this is one of the cycles. You're always given another opportunity to learn the lesson. When you learn it, you end the cycle.